Hi, this is Patrick Rodriguez with SoulHealingTherapy.com. And today we're going to be continuing our discussion of how to heal other people. Again, the type of work that I do is I do emotional energy clearing. So it is doing energy healing, but going through the doorway of the emotions in order to reach the energy. So today we're going to be talking about non-judgment, the energy of non-judgment. When you're face to face with someone and they're telling you things, even in the setup conversations, there is going to be some dialogue back and forth. And here is where the energy of non-judgment comes in. Personally, my methods is it's very much back and forth. There's always dialogue taking place. The energy of non-judgment is when I'm observing what a client is saying. I let go of right and wrong. I let go of good and bad. So a person starts telling me, okay, I want to whatever it is. And I'll say, okay, talk to me. What happens when you think about doing this? And immediately they start going into all the things that I feel go back to I'm not being a good girl or I'm not being a good boy. And that prevents them from moving forward. All I have to do is just listen. Just listen. And what I'm really listening for is where does the energy spike? Where does their voice tone shift? Where does the tonality of the voice go up? Where does it spike or where does it drop? When do they talk and it's just like, ugh, exhausted feeling? For many people, it's talking about their mother, right? Whatever it is. Those are what I'm listening for. And I'm doing it without the judgment of right or wrong, without the judgment of good or bad. And that's so critically important. And then when I find the energy, I don't treat it as like, okay, that's the energy we want to get rid of. But rather, this is the part of themselves that they need to align with. This is the part of themselves that they themselves are judging and they want back. In the case of traumatic events from the past, people just are so terrified of these past events. In one example, someone may have been in a terrible car crash and had operations on their head and neck, and they're getting these headaches and the doctor can't figure out why. What I'm doing when I'm listening to this, I'm saying, okay, I hear you, yeah. It sounds bad. It sounds like it was a rough time, especially in the recovery. It sounds like you had a hard time. And I'm just listening to it, but to the best of my ability, I'm not judging it. This person may be saying, oh, the doctors were terrible, or the ambulance care was terrible. My job is to just listen. No judgment, no right, no wrong, no good, no bad. To listen without judgment. What I'm also not doing is judging the person, either the person of today, who may be 50, 60 years old, or the person of that time period. So someone says, oh yeah, I was drunk at the time and that's the reason I went off the cliff. This person of 60 years old will be judging the 20-year-old self and holding shame, doubt, guilt, etc. For me to also judge the 20 years old self doesn't do anyone any good. What I'm trying to do is to align this person with the hurt of the person that was before, to release the judgment of the 20-year-old self. The only way I'm able to do that is to go into non-judgment myself. So what I'm inviting you to do is to learn non-judgment. Let's say you're a parent. How many times has your child come to you and said, well, it wasn't my fault? Whole series of explanations. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. This is a place to practice non-judgment. I hear you. What I hear you telling me is it wasn't your fault. Okay. The vase is broken and you're telling me it's not your fault. Okay, I hear you. Let's breathe. I hear you saying it's not my fault. The vase is broken, and I hear you saying it's not my fault. When you approach children like this, whether it's your own child or your own inner child, you align with that child first. The child will most likely then say, well, maybe I had something to do with it. It's pretty normal. And if you're a parent, you've probably had this experience countless of times. This is what we're trying to do with the inner child. Again, we're trying to align the 50, 60-year-old self with the 20-year-old self. We want to get them on their own side. We listen with non-judgment and we invite non-judgment. So this part in and of itself is a little bit on the woo-woo side, but not really. I think it's pretty mainstream compared to some of this stuff. When we start getting into some of the more esoteric stuff, the more metaphysical healing, having non-judgment is going to be tremendously important. So I'm inviting you to practice this. Now, I studied with a meditation teacher. That was a pretty interesting time of my life. One of the ways that he would teach us non-judgment is to have us walk down the street. And this is when I was living in New York City. And so, tremendous people, everything going on all at once. And the task was to walk down the street, to observe left or right, but no good or bad. So seeing trash on the floor, no good or bad. To see some guy lying homeless, no good or bad. It's not an easy practice. Now, as I'm recording this, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. It's not the time to be walking down the street and doing this particular observation. Maybe you can walk through your own home and do the same observations. What we're really trying to get to is coming into a centered place within yourself, not meditating, but rather in action. So walking was terrific, and that may not be a pragmatic thing to do right now, but observing, just looking around your own home, what's there, to see something that would normally catch your attention, say, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, but just to observe it. It's like, okay, it's just there. It's just there. When you can do that as a healer, as a practitioner, when you're able to do this first with yourself, now you can do it with other people. And I know there's going to be people out there that say, well, I can do this with other people, I just can't do it with myself. I would respectfully disagree. If you can't do it with yourself, you will not be able to do it with other people. Practice, 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 practice. Non-judgment. This is the number one thing that if I could teach you just one thing, non-judgment would be it. It's really the cornerstone. I can't overemphasize the importance of non-judgment. And when I say non-judgment, I'm not just saying you put on a poker face. What I'm saying with non-judgment is very often my own clients will tell me some very deep, dark things to them. And I'm not talking about me judging them, but to them, it's very shameful, embarrassing. And I'll laugh and I'll say, wow, probably sounded like a good idea at the time, huh? It's non-judgment. It's non-judgment. I'm getting them to laugh, and with laughter comes energy, breathing. Ha, ha, ha. That's an over-exaggerated laugh, by the way. But that emphasizes the breathing, and breathing is movement of energy. Very often when someone is talking to me about something that they're very ashamed of, the whole energy closes down and they get very constricted. Their breathing becomes very shallow. By using the energy of non-judgment, we open them up first so that they can go inside. If their energy is constricted, they're unable to go inside. They're unable to align with themselves. This is the importance of non-judgment. It's tremendously important. Again, I just can't overemphasize it. So what I'm going to invite you to do is take a walk. If you can't walk outside, then walk around your house. Look and observe. See things that catch your eye. And then go into non-judgment of it. Be at peace with it. It is as it is. It is as it is. Some people mistake the teachings of Zen Buddhism, and the mistake that they make is, well, everything is the way it's supposed to be, everything is perfect as it is. And that's not to say that the global pandemic with the fear and the suffering that we're going through is perfect, but rather the perfection is that all the things came together to make it what it is. It is what it is. The perfection of it really is that everything came together. It's not that it's good, and we don't look at it as good or bad, kind of like a scientist can't look at it as good or bad, has to look at it in the way of how can it be approached. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Within yourself first, and then with others. I can absolutely promise you, if you learn this technique, it's kind of hard to call it a technique, but I guess it really is. If you learn this method of communication, of non-judgment, it will serve you. It will serve you as a healer, as a facilitator, as a counselor, as a therapist, as a parent. It will serve you. It will serve you. It will serve you. Practice it, practice it, practice it. Utilize it. Now, I do want to share with you, is this my daily waking personality? No, 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 no. You don't have to be Mr., Zen Buddhist monk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What I'm asking you to do is learn this energy of non-judgment when you go into healing mode, when you are sitting down with your client, when you're with your child that's, going off the rails, when you're with a friend that's hurting. You go into this mode, but you can't go into this mode if you don't practice first. And that's the invitation, is to practice. And if you're going to be doing this series with me, this is the homework, is just for 5 to 10 minutes for a week to go into observation and practice non-judgment. 5 to 10 minutes a day for a week, 5 to 10 minutes per day for a week to go into non-judgment. And again, it has to be active, like walking or doing something. Then try a half hour. Why do you do this? Because if you start working with people, if you start having these conversations with friends, with relatives, where you really do want to help, it's critical. It's absolutely critical. If you want someone to trust you with their deepest, darkest, shameful secrets, in many cases, they haven't told anyone in decades. If you want that level of trust so that you can then heal, it's imperative to learn non-judgment. So I hope you take up this homework assignment. I hope you do it. It'll serve you as a healer, as a facilitator, as a therapist, as a counselor, as a parent, as a teacher, as a doctor. So that's our first video on using the methods of soul healing. This is the preparation stage where you are preparing yourself to heal others. This has been Patrick Rodriguez with SoulHealingTherapy.com. Click the like, subscribe. We have lots more to come.